Hello students, welcome to Stuti Academy. As the name itself says, in every Stuti creation a success is seen. So here we are, the Stuti creation for you, in which we create a success for you, help you to achieve your goal and help to solve all the problems and the hurdles you people are facing. So welcome you all. I am Poonam Sharma, your science teacher. Help you to achieve your success and clear your hurdles. Sometimes people are scared of science. Students are scared of science subject and seem to be sometimes boring. But no, students, science is not at all boring. It's very interesting subject. I can understand you feel some problems or face some issues into it. But here I am. I'm the problem of all of your solutions. To make that study, to make that science subject more interesting and to clear all the hurdles and your doubts in a quick span of a time. So you can easily solve all the problems you are facing. In today's video, I'll explain chemical reactions and equation chapter of class 10, which is first chapter of chemistry. First of all, we need to understand what are these chemical reactions. As we all know, in our everyday life, we see so many changes are occurring and changes occurs with time. But out of those changes, some are noticeable but some remain unnoticed. For instance, when you eat food, that tasty and yummy food get digested in your tummy. You respire, you take the oxygen gas and releases carbon dioxide gas. Then if you keep iron object or some other metal in an open atmosphere, you'll see some changes on the layer of those substances or the metals. And these changes which are occurring with time, they are known as chemical changes. And the reactions which are involved into it, they are known as chemical reactions. In everyday life, we'll observe n number of chemical reactions in our surroundings. Ripening of fruit is also a change. Some reaction is also taking place. Growth of our body is also a result of some changes which are occurring. And when two or more substances combine together, they also results in the formation of some new substance. So that is also a result of the chemical reaction. What is chemical reaction? How can we define it? Yes, when two or more substances chemically combine together, then they result in the formation of new chemical substance. And this type of transformation or this type of reaction is known as chemical reaction. For example, as I told you, rusting of iron. Just keep iron object or article outside, and after few days you'll observe that the color of the iron changes. No magic occurs. It's due to some chemical reaction which takes place. And what are the substances involved into it? I'll discuss later. The setting of milk into curd. Everyone likes curd, but sometimes students don't like milk. So that converting curd or converting milk into curd is also a chemical reaction. We eat food, that food gets digested in our body in a simpler form. So that is also an example of chemical reaction. Respiration, as I told you, when you are taking oxygen gas and giving out carbon dioxide gas. So these are the examples of chemical reactions. Now there are certain characteristics of a chemical reaction. Whenever any chemical reaction takes place, it always results in a new substance. It always results in the formation of some new material. And the property of that new substance which is formed is entirely different from those of the initial substances. For example, when we prepare curd from milk, the property of the curd is entirely different from that of milk. And students who don't like milk but they like curd because it has different properties, it has different taste, it gives different flavor. So the substances which results in due to the chemical reaction, they have certain different properties from those of the initial substances. Initial substances means the substances which were involved in the formation of a new substance. And when this chemical reaction takes place, there is an arrangement of atoms also taking place. When two atoms, two molecules of hydrogen are present, it results in the formation of same. This we'll discuss later in this chapter only, how this happens. The substances which are involved in a chemical reaction are known as reactants. And the substances, new substances rather I can say, which results due to the chemical reaction are known as products. And the example of such kind of reactions are here. As you can see here in this, reactants, as you can see when this magnesium ribbon which is present here, when it comes in contact with the oxygen, it results in the formation of magnesium oxide. So here reactants are magnesium and oxygen, which results in the formation of magnesium oxide. And this magnesium oxide is a product. As you can see here, it's a product and these are two reactants. When we are representing any chemical reaction, we always use their symbols instead of using their complete name. So here magnesium is represented by Mg, and this S here, it indicates its state, which is solid. S means solid. And oxygen is represented by O, and G is the state of the oxygen. And then we have magnesium oxide, which is again exists in the solid form. So here these are the reactants and this is the product. And when we combine these reactants and products together, it results in a chemical reaction. When we burn magnesium ribbon in air, so before burning we need to remove its layer by sandpaper, because magnesium is quite very reactive and it can easily react. So we need to remove this protective layer of the basic magnesium carbonate which is present on it, so that it can easily react, it can easily burn. So that's why we remove this layer. And the substances which takes part in a chemical reaction are magnesium and oxygen. Here I am giving you one more example. Suppose A reacts with V. It results in the formation of C, or sometimes more substances are also produced, so that we can represent by D. It can be anything. So A and B here are the reactants, and C and D are the products. So when we combine these reactants and products, It results in a chemical reaction. Now, when a chemical reaction takes place, we observe some changes into it. And what are those changes? And what are the things, or what are the sequence of events occurs when a chemical reaction takes place? First is evolution of gas. Evolution of gas here means when two or more reactants combine together, then it results in the formation of a new substance which is a product. Apart from that, some gases are also evolved, and this is the first characteristics of a chemical reaction. So when here is an example, when zinc, Zn is a symbol of zinc, when it reacts with dilute sulfuric acid, or H2SO4 is the formula of sulfuric acid. When they both combine together, it results in the formation of zinc sulfate, because SO4 represents the sulfate, it's a salt, and H2 is hydrogen gas is evolved, and this arrow which represents in the upward direction, which pointed towards in the upward direction, it shows the evolution of gas, because when gases are coming, they are moving in the upward direction. So this indicates the evolution of gas. Next characteristics of chemical reaction is change in color. And we observe that when two or more reactants or two or more substances combine together, it results in the formation of new substance, and sometimes the color of that substance, which is a product, the color is entirely different from those of the reactants. Here is an example, a reaction between citric acid and purple colored potassium permanganate solution. The color of potassium permanganate is purple in color, and when you add some acid into it, the color of the potassium permanganate disappears. It becomes colorless. Another example is when sulfur dioxide gas reacts with potassium dichromate solution, then again there is a change in the color. The actual color of the potassium dichromate solution is orange, but when we add some sulfur dioxide gas into it, its color changes to green. So this change in color also one of the most important characteristics of a chemical reaction. Sometimes there is a change in the color in physical changes also, in physical reactions. But the difference is when any physical change occurs, there is no result in the formation of new substance. So in this manner, the physical changes are different from chemical changes. Here I am discussing about chemical changes. And in this chemical change, as you can see, some new substance is produced every time. Next is change in state of substance. The combustion reaction of candle wax is characterized by change in state from solid to liquid. Because the wax, as you know, it's a solid substance, and when you burn it, it changes into liquid. And it produces some carbon ashes. It produces some carbon dioxide gas, and it gives heat and light also. So these are the new substances. Carbon dioxide gas is a new product, is a new substance which has entirely different property of the candle wax. So in this manner, it is a chemical reaction. On the contrary, if we compare it with a physical change in which only melting of wax takes place. In melting, only there is a change in the state. There is no formation of new substance. But when we burn candle, burning of candle is a chemical reaction, is a chemical change because it results in the formation of new substance, and the vapors which are black in color which produces from the candle, they are carbon dioxide vapors, and the property of this carbon dioxide is entirely different from those of the reactants. Now next characteristics of chemical reaction is change in temperature. When any chemical reaction takes place between two substances, either there is heat is absorbed or heat is released. So either heat is absorbed or released. Anything can be happen. And the examples of such kind of chemical reaction is, as you can see here, the reaction between quicklime water to form the slaked lime, and it results in increase in temperature. The temperature increases. Again, the chemical reaction between zinc granules. Granules means small pieces of zinc. And when we add some dilute sulfuric acid, is also characterized by change in temperature, and which results in rise in temperature. It means heat is evolved. Here rise in temperature means heat is evolved. Then we have formation of precipitate. Then when chemical reaction takes place between sulfuric acid and barium chloride, as you can see in this chemical reaction, BaCl2, it is a formula of this barium chloride, and when it reacts with dilute sulfuric acid, then H2SO4 is a formula of sulfuric acid. When they both react with each other, then it results in the formation of barium sulfate, which is a salt, and it's some sort of precipitate, like neither solid nor liquid. It's just like a powdery form, sticky powdery form. So barium sulfate is formed and HCl is produced. Here HCl is hydrochloric acid. So these are the characteristics of a chemical reaction when any reaction takes place. Now if you have any query, you can ask. Yes, if you have any query, you can ask. Thank you for joining me. And giving your valuable time to me.
हॉटस्पॉट लो, तुम्हारा लैग कर रहा है इंटरनेट.
So these are the characteristics of the chemical reaction. I hope this topic is clear to everyone. And if you have any query related to this topic, you can ask. Yes, I am just reading your responses. As I told you, these are the characteristics of chemical reactions like evolution of gas, change in color, change in state of substance, change in temperature, and formation of precipitate. When any chemical reaction takes place, we'll observe these changes in a chemical reaction. Or it can be any one characteristics or two characteristics. Or we can observe either one or two characteristics. Sorry for the inconvenience, because sometimes some glitches can occur, in technical issues are there, because it's fine already, it's a machine. So these are the characteristics of chemical reactions. Now, how can we represent a chemical equation? As I told you, when any chemical reaction takes place, we always represent a chemical reaction by their symbols. Here I have taken an example of A plus B or C plus D. But instead of A and B, we generally use their symbols. For example, Na. Here Na is written. Yes. Na plus Cl. Na is represented by sodium and Cl represents calcium. So this Na and Cl, when they combine together, they form NaCl, which is a salt. Okay, so when these chemical reaction takes place, it results in the formation of a product. So here A and B represent reactants and C and D represents these products. And this chemical reaction is represented by this NaCl. Now, there are so many chemical reactions takes place. For example, when iron reacts with oxygen, it results in the formation of iron oxide, which is a rust. And when carbon reacts with oxygen, it results in the formation of carbon dioxide gas. The property of carbon dioxide is entirely different from that of carbon and oxygen. For example, hydrogen, when it reacts with oxygen, it results in the formation of water, which has entirely different property from hydrogen and oxygen. Then there are so many examples of the chemical equations in our everyday life. Photosynthesis. It is also an example of a chemical equation. In photosynthesis, plants take this carbon dioxide gas, water vapors from the atmosphere, and it results in the formation of glucose, and they release oxygen gas. So these are the examples of chemical reaction, and we have seen n number of chemical reactions in our daily life. Then after this, if we talk about these chemical reactions, it is very easy to write these chemical reactions. See, we cannot write the complete name every time. It's very time consuming process. For every element, there are certain symbols. Like hydrogen represents by H, carbon represents by C, oxygen represents by O, and magnesium represents by Mg. So these are the symbols of these elements. So it is easy for us to write chemical reactions. Then after that, we need to balance them. And when any chemical reaction takes place, whatever product is formed, it has same number of elements and same number of substances which reactants has. Thank you everyone for giving your valuable time and building trust in us. I'm definitely here to solve all your problems. I hope you like this session. Thank you so much. And if you have any query, you can ask. Yes. Hello. Hello. Hmm? It's still working. Children, my laptop is hang and some technical glitch is there. I'm so sorry for the inconvenience. And if you have any query, you can ask regarding this topic. I'll just brief whatever I have taught in today's class, so that if you have missed something due to technical glitch, so it will be helpful for you. Now in today's session, I explain about chemical reaction. What are chemical reactions, how do they occur, and how can we represent them. Chemical reactions are those kind of reactions in which when two or more substances combine together, they form a new product. And we can represent those reactants and products by their symbols. These are elements which we can represent by their symbols. For example, sodium is represented by Na, magnesium is represented by Mg, carbon represented by C, and oxygen represents by O. So in this manner, we can represent a chemical equation. And when any chemical reaction takes place, we observe certain changes in them, like evolution of gas, change in color, formation of precipitate, change in temperature, or there is some release of heat also. So these are, and change in the state as well. So these are the characteristics of a chemical reaction when any chemical reaction takes place. Apart from this, when a chemical reaction takes place in nature, the products which are produced or which are obtained, they have same number as that of reactants. For example, if we have two molecules of hydrogen, in the products also we have same two molecules of hydrogen only. And how can we balance them? That I'll teach you in the forthcoming videos. Then I'll explain you in the forthcoming chapter, in this chapter later on. And there are different methods to balance the chemical equation, and one of those methods is heat and trial method. And how this method, how can we use this method, that I'll explain you later. And if you have any query, so students, you can ask please. Then apart from this, we observe these changes in our house also, in our surroundings also. For example, as I told you, ripening of fruit can change its color. Some chemical reactions are taking place in that fruit. For example, the growth of human beings, that is also an example of some kind of change. And these changes cannot be reversed. They cannot be reversed, and they are permanent. Once it occurs, it cannot be reversed. And how can we differentiate these chemical changes with the physical one? In physical, we can reverse these changes. For example, if you tear a page, there is only a change in the shape of the paper, but there is no formation of a new substance. But if we are talking about chemical changes, like once the fruit gets ripened, we cannot get the same fruit in the same manner. So this is a chemical change. So in this manner, the chemical changes or the chemical reactions are entirely different from those of the physical one. So, and other changes or other differences are there in between physical and the chemical one. And physical changes, although there is a change in the color also, there is change in state also, but there is no formation of new substance. Just now I told you, when you burn a candle, so there is a melting of wax takes place. The melting of wax is a physical change, but the burning of candle is a chemical change. When you take the ice and keep it at room temperature, its state changes. It becomes solid to liquid, but the composition of water remains same. So this is an example of physical change. Water remains as it is, H2O, whether it exists in ice form, whether it exists in liquid form, and whether it exists in gaseous form, in water vapors form. When you heat that liquid changes into water vapor form. And again the composition of that gases are H2O. So this is the difference between physical changes and the chemical changes. In chemical changes, we'll always get a new product. Like when we prepare curd from milk, the property of curd is entirely different from that of the milk. And when any chemical reaction takes place, the substances which are produced, they have different property, and the reactants lose their property. They lose their identity. But in physical one, they never lose their identity. I'm giving you some more examples so that the topic can be more clear to you. For example, when you take water in a container and add some sugar into it, And when you stir both the things together and then taste it, when you taste it, it has some sweetness. So it means the property of the sugar is also there in the water. Sugar does not lose its property, it's retained its property, it remains as it is. Okay, so there is only change in the state. Now it dissolves into water. So this is the difference between physical and chemical one. So if you have any query between the physical and the chemical changes, difference between them, so you can ask. Today there is so much technical glitches there. I'm really sorry for the inconvenience, students.